Oh, I'd like to thank my fans for their undying support, and the people of Gotham, who I'll be seeing very, very soon.
In today's video, I want to talk about one of my favorite game trilogies, the Batman Arkham Series. More specifically, Asylum, City, and Night. Why? Because in my humble opinion, I think they're still peak, and through the video I will highlight everything that makes them great, and such a unique experience even in 2025. Also, this video is free of any major spoilers, as this is more of me trying to convince you to play the series, and I don't want to turn you away by revealing everything. The atmosphere. Every game, although similar, has a different vibe, yet doesn't stray too far away from the intent. Arkham Asylum is just straight up creepy. You're stuck on an isolated island that, despite being one, feels huge. Everywhere is surrounded by crumbling buildings, dim lights, and echoing hallways. The rain adds to the dark aesthetic, which further adds dramatic tension. Asylum's atmosphere invokes paranoia, fear, and even sadness. Walking through the asylum is a different experience. You can hear what the patients are going through at times. All the rooms look very creepy, and it looks like a lot of abuse has taken on in here. Plus, if you play the games, you actually know what goes on in there, and it's not anything good. Arkham City, on the other hand, isn't as scary in my opinion, but is more so doomed. The vibe is still dark, but since you're actually in civilization, it's less creepy. But since there's this major conflict on control, and the city's specifically made to harbor the worst of the worst, the whole place just feels doomed. Also in this game, you may know the main protagonist is Hugo Strange. You can see it throughout the trailers. I won't mention too much about it, but pretty much he does have power over Arkham City. And since he does, you can see his signs everywhere. And you can see his authority, the constant sirens, and the separation from the rest of the city. Everything just feels like it's against Batman. Arkham Knight cranks the scale up to a new max. The high-end graphics combined with the now drivable setting is huge. Literally, the map is huge. This game takes the rain and depressed vibe of Asylum and combines it with the doom of City. But this time, since literally everything goes wrong and Batman is at his ends, the game feels heavy. Even though this game came out in 2015, the graphics still hold up. They're even comparable to the Spider-Man games. Recently, the comparison has been between Arkham Knight and Gotham Knights. The new game looks worse than this game, and it came out in 2015, so that tells you a lot. The music for each of these games matches the theme perfectly. It's subtle when it needs to be, and it quickly gets intense with every action, not to mention how creepy it gets in Asylum. I will never forget my first time playing Asylum. I was literally terrified. City's music is a little bit more just normal Batman music, and the Night is full-on action. But my favorite sound effect is the Arkham Asylum charm. Charm, chime, whatever. This charm, I don't know, whatever. This sound is amazing. I love this sound because every time it'll play, the Joker usually says something, and it's usually something funny.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting some troubling reports of a bat infestation in Joker Asylum. Let me remind everyone that it is their civic duty to exterminate this vermin. We can't have it making its way back to the mainland.
Anyways, back to the atmosphere. The atmosphere is also full of references to the comics, which are seen in every game, not only with the characters, but with buildings and signs. There's a ton of Easter eggs and even niche references, which makes every map feel so much more immersive. The atmosphere in these games actually makes you feel like Batman, and for once you get to see through his eyes. The Batman. So, as you guys know, the Batman voice actor was Kevin Conroy, which he sadly passed away, but his voice acting was great because he even voiced Batman in the animated series, and even I believe in the Justice League. He did a great performance, and honestly, without his voice, his character wouldn't have been so memorable. So again, I just wanted to put this little side note so we could say rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. The Arkham version of Batman is one of the best I've seen, even comparable to the movie adaptations, in my opinion, of course. He's not overly depressed or dramatic, but his trauma is definitely there. He's clearly been through a lot, and he still has to carry all this pain and loss, while still having to carry the weight of justice on his shoulders. It's a lot for one guy. What makes it worse is that the villains are just relentless. They're not just trying to break him physically, but also mentally. Definitely while playing the games, you can feel this. You can see how he still blames himself for his parents' loss, and at times there are certain flashbacks that bring up these terrible memories. Also, when you're playing, you could see the villains are taunting, blaming, and teasing you all the time. It never ends, and I'm sure it does take a toll on him. Even though he's a fictional character, I think this writing is amazing, because it just shows you what a great role model he is. No matter what goes wrong, he still keeps pushing and still tries his best. This man goes through a lot of sacrifices and pain, but still never backs down. Speaking of pain, he causes a lot of it. Like, I mean a lot. He doesn't kill. I'm pretty sure he doesn't kill.
What are you waiting for?
His moveset is smooth, efficient, and honestly satisfying to play with. He also comes with gadgets, and some you start with, but others you have to grind for. The gadgets are amazing because they add a sense of logic to the games. Besides just punching and kicking, in certain scenarios you could choose how you want to handle the situation. Either you could punch and kick like I mentioned, or you could use the gadgets to take down the enemies in different ways. In the games, there are certain story missions where you have to use the gadgets in the way that the game tells you to, but in many other cases you could use them how you like. Another thing about Batman is he's the world's greatest detective, well, at least in this universe. So in these games we are provided with detective vision, which is ultimately a way to see things that other people can't. It gives you a lot more clues, and it makes it more interesting because you do really feel like a detective at times. As I've mentioned, this Batman is full of strength, power, and intelligence, but there's one character who cannot be reformed by the big man himself, the Joker. Mark Hamill's Joker is next level. Fun fact, he played the original English dub for Goro Majima for the Yakuza games.
That was impressive, Kazuma-chan.
Kazuma? Aniki, you mean...
Yeah. Kazuma Kiryu-chan. The dragon of the Dojima family.
It's been a while, Majima-san.
That's how good this man is at playing crazy characters. The voice is perfect. He can flip from cracking jokes to full-on threats in a matter of seconds. This voice is a masterpiece and perfectly emulates the Joker. But his look? It's even better. He's old but not ancient. His skin's pale and gross, and his smile is wide and creepy. And how can you not mention the bold clown attire? This Joker, honestly, I feel like he's really complete because he's crazy, funny, and his look is just perfect. Not only is he deranged, so is his accomplished / love interest, Harley Quinn. She's bold, unpredictable, and chaotic, just like him. He shaped her into this obsessed sidekick that would do anything for him, which is honestly disturbing, because the truth is, he doesn't love her like she thinks he does, and he is only using her, as you'll see more as you play the games.
Oops! Change of plans, kiddo.
But I tried my best!
Sorry, but there is no prize for second place. I'm afraid you're off the party list. Better luck next time.
No!
But why? Why does he behave like this? Who is he? What's his motive? One thing is for sure, the Joker lives to mess with the Batman. Batman is about control, order, and justice, and the Joker is pure chaos. He's the bane of his existence. Not Bane, I mean the bane of his okay, anyways. Every interaction is like Batman's playing chess, while Joker's playing checkers. The best villain in the series by far is the Joker. He's so good, at times you look forward to his interactions. Like I mentioned before, in Asylum, I literally was looking forward to seeing more Joker. The humor, charm, and randomness really keeps you wanting more. I wonder if Batman feels like that too. Although this game is full of Joker and Batman shenanigans, that's not all that this game is about. There are many other compelling stories. The characters. Every single character in these games has depth, personality, and style. I already have mentioned the Joker and Batman, but the rest of the cast is actually amazing. Most are existing Batman characters from the comics or other media, but there are some original characters. Even though they did their homework, they did take creative liberties, as you can see with design and detail. A prime example is the Arkham Knight. I will not explain who the Arkham Knight is, because that would reveal too much, but his original character has never deviated so far from his story before, and you really get to see such a compelling villain. I like how in these games they aren't afraid to take the spotlight away from the Joker. Even though he's my favorite villain, there are a few more other characters that can compete fairly. My favorite bosses being Killer Croc, Knight, and Mr. Freeze. The women in these games are not any different. They do not take a back seat. Like Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman, they are still very bold characters and can easily compete with the male ones. Even as playing as Catwoman in City, her story is not entirely dependent on Batman. It is very heavily dependent, but not entirely. She still faces her own enemies and has her own dilemmas, which I really appreciate seeing. Every character feels real, as this thanks to the compelling voice acting. No one is just reading their lines. Not like me, who's completely reading a script right now. In return, you get characters you are actually interested in. Even the thugs. The thugs are very interesting. They actually react to what's happening in the story. They talk about Batman, their bosses, and their own lives. Thugs working for Two-Face talk about money and loyalty. Penguin's guys talk like full-on gangsters. And the Joker's crew, what do you expect? They just talk about anything. They're just crazy. You probably have seen those memes about the Arkham thugs and the funniest shit they say.
Hey, Batman! What the hell are you doing? Tempting fate. We're right here. Don't keep us waiting. You got a big mouth. Part of me hopes he flies down here and shuts it. I don't like being stuck down here. This old part of the city stinks. Yeah, damn rats everywhere too. But you've seen rats. Look around. We're stationed in Gotham's proverbial U-bend. Rats freak you out, huh? Well, you know, they say you're never more than 10 feet from a rat. Or is it 5? Hey, if you got any more little facts, you can keep them to yourself.
Hey, look! Batman! Let's keep away from the door. Why? He can't get through there. It's solid iron. Hi, Batman. I'm sure you'd love to burst in here, use your fancy kung fu stuff on us, and then wreck our radar console. But, well, you're not on the list. So you're not coming in.
Don't provoke him. It'll put your fingers through the bars.
Yeah, looks different up close. Bigger. Kinda mean. And strong. You, think I pissed him off?
I don't know. Maybe. Ask him.
Batman? You know I was joking, right? About the whole list thing? I mean, we really can't let you in here, but, you know, we're just doing our job. You're just doing your, hobby. So, no hard feelings, yeah?
It's rare to see a game where every character, down to the most basic NPCs, leave a lasting impression. Everyone has their own right, everyone is angry at someone, and you know exactly why. They're very compelling in their ways of explaining themselves and why they do what they do, and I can really appreciate that, as nobody is a one-note villain. The story. Now I've talked about everything but the main component of these games. The execution of the story is pure cinema, and I think I've hammered that point enough. But they truly respect your time in this game. Everything has a meaning. There's no filler. Every mission, conversation, every little clue scattered around the world is there for a reason. Like the side stories, they're full of even more lore and smaller characters, and even extensions onto the main characters. All of the side content is worth it, since it was given the same amount of love as the main game. A main character in most of the side content is the Riddler, and even he does have his main story components, especially at night, but he is usually known for his side content. He hides puzzles everywhere around the map. It's not necessary to grind out all the Riddler trophies, but most of the puzzles are actually really fun to do, and every time you do get a trophy, you learn more and more about this strange man. Those aren't the only collectibles though. In these games you can also collect interview tapes for each character, which are honestly some of the creepiest and darkest things I've heard. The tapes provide even more lore. Yes, more lore, more than the FNAF characters at this point. I've mentioned how fleshed out the characters feel, but these tapes 10x that, as you hear their personal stories in such a casual manner, as if they're in the room with you.
One would have to be severely paranoid to read threats into harmless riddles, Dr. Young. May I test you with one?
Very well.
What is it that walks on 4 legs, then 2 legs, And finally, 3 legs.
A human being. As a baby, it crawls on 4 legs. As an adult, it walks on 2. And in later years, it uses a cane.
Good try. But the answer to all 3 is a baby. True, it crawls on all 4s, but cut off its legs and it can only wiggle on 2 limbs. Give it a crutch, it can hobble around on 3. You see?
It's horrible. How can you even joke about that?
Easily, Doctor. It's not my baby.
These tapes are optional. If you're a true fan, you'll find them all like me, and you'll listen to them very carefully, learning every excruciating detail about every character, which will never matter after you play these games. Every moment of this experience is intense and impactful. Even after beating the main game, you may be depressed, but hey, there's the DLCs. Yes, the DLCs are actually that good. They feel like genuine extensions of the story. And did I mention even more lore? I highly recommend them. I won't say too much because most of them are a prequel or sequel and they give away too much, but just don't skip these. They're really worth it and you'll learn a lot more. Personally, it took me 2 years to finish all the content, get all the Riddler trophies, and sometimes I would just drive around the world. By the end, you have learned so much about this world and you've truly seen what it's like firsthand through the eyes of the Bat. Whether you're in it for the fights, story, or just to glide around the rooftops of Gotham, the Arkham games deliver. Even in 2025, they are the golden standard for superhero games, and yes, still peak. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. This video took a lot of time and effort, and I hope I'm improving on my voice recording skills. Please give me any tips in the comments, and thanks again. Take care.